now, fellas. We've got to answer the bell. Now let's go.
Welcome into Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow alongside Mo Patton, and we are coming to you on this Friday. We made it through the rough weather stretch. Matter of fact, we had a tornado on the ground here in southern Middle Tennessee yesterday, so it was a little bit crazy, but I'm super glad that we were able to get you guys a show yesterday and get back today. Very important for us, of course. We got a great show lined up. Oh, we've got Chris Lee talk a little baseball with us, and that's super exciting because baseball is getting started today. Matter of fact, Middle Tennessee State had its first win of the day today.
Middle Tennessee State played the first college baseball game of the season at 9 a.m. this morning, 9 Central over in Conway, South Carolina.
Yeah. I bet it was breezy.
I bet it was. I've been to Myrtle Beach this time of year, well, a little later, and it's still not warm. So
no,
just because it's a beach don't mean it's warm. I'm telling you. So
go to the Northeast. They got beaches there too.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
and they're snowed on right now.
But that's okay. Middle's bats were pretty hot.
Yeah, they were.
So
lots to talk about today with Chris Lee. Of course, we'll also talk with retired Boston Globe sports editor Joseph Sullivan, who is apparently a Middle Tennessee transplant now.
Snowbird, I guess, to some degree.
And he's doing some cool stuff here in Middle Tennessee. So we wanted to talk to him. He was at the MTSU FAU game last night, and Middle Tennessee State with the big upset of the Owls, top 25 ranked Owls.
Since they are the Owls, I guess it's cool to say FAU.
FAU? Don't know. Not you.
Yeah.
And we'll also look ahead to the top games of the weekend in NCAA hoops. The XFL kicking off this weekend. The USFL announced today that they will hold a draft next week, a college draft. Yeah. Now you have to enter yourself into the draft, but there are 3,000 available players for this college draft. So I thought that was pretty interesting and intriguing way of doing it. And it looks like, a lot of college kids coming out are looking for that, that next step.
And a lot of those college kids have somebody being honest with them and saying, this is the direction you need to go in.
And I think that's cool.
Yeah.
So I'll be looking forward to that. It's only, it's going to be next. What's today?
Today is the 17th.
It's going to be on the 21st, which will be Tuesday
mm-hmm.
at noon. So we should have we'll find out if any local products have been drafted next Tuesday. So yeah, anyway, all that's coming up. SEC Media Days that'll be held in Nashville this year. The schedule is out. Well, the list and days. It's not a schedule.
Yeah, it's which schools will be in attendance on which days, right. Basically. Yeah.
So we'll get to that as well. Plenty more as well, but we need to get you, because it is that time. It is the weekend rundown.
This is the rundown.
The Friday Rundown is brought to you by Chip Walters of Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates. The voice of the Blue Raiders also wants to be your trusted advisor in real estate. Contact Chip at 615-542-1915 or through his website at choosechip.net. Chip Walters, proud to support youth sports across Middle Tennessee.
Girls basketball action last night. Clarksville down West Creek 57-38. John Overton was a 54-43 winner over Centennial. Liberty Creek down Montgomery Central 57-31. And Rossview was a 77-44 winner over Springfield. Ravenwood edged Summit 53-50. And Portland down White House 51-35. On the boys' side, it was Brentwood 60, John Overton 22, Summit 50, Columbia Central 47 with a buzzer-beating 3. Coverage of that at mainstreetmurray.com. Gallatin downs McGavick 69-35, and Hendersonville was a 47-40 winner over Hunters Lane. Wilson Central 58-56 winners over Mount Juliet, and Richland down Culleoka 62-33, while Santa Fe advanced to the championship game to take on the Raiders 59-54 over Wayne County. Coverage of that also on mainstreetmurray.com. And finally, White House edges Liberty Creek 61-58.
In women's college basketball action on Thursday night, Tennessee State with a 61-49 win over Morehead State. Middle Tennessee State defeated Florida Atlantic at the Glass House 85-77. Tennessee goes to Fayetteville and picks up an 87-67 win over Arkansas. Florida Gulf Coast 78, Lipscomb 61. Stetson downs Austin P 53-48. Alabama with the 88-70 win over Vanderbilt. Kentucky Wesleyan 62, Trevecca 47. Bethel with a 66-65 win over Cumberland, and Freed Hardeman 87, UT Southern 27. Ouch. On the men's side, MTSU 74. 25th ranked, Florida Atlantic 70. North Florida in 2 overtimes defeats Lipscomb 114-111. Jacksonville with a 60-56 win over Austin P. Morehead State pulled away from Tennessee State late for a 74-64 victory. Kentucky Wesleyan doubles up Trevecca 101-50. Bethel with an 81-68 win over Cumberland, and Freed Hardeman 76, UT Southern 63. On the ice at Bridgestone, Reds inching closer and closer to cellar mode with that 5-0 loss to Boston. Now, Boston, again, best team in the NHL, but still.
Boston has one player on their team that is being paid more than the highest paid 4 players on.
Combined?
No. The Preds have 4 players paid higher than everybody on Boston's team, sans
except
one guy. That's rough.
What is it about this town and bad contracts?
Bad contracts galore, man. Gotta have bad contracts to want to live here, I guess. I don't know. Girls basketball action tonight. Zion Christian at Highland Rim, 6 o'clock. In District 8 1A play at Joe Burns. It'll be Trousdale County first at 4 o'clock, taking on Merrill Hyde, and East Robertson and Joe Burns at 7. The consolation and championship games will take place tomorrow. Times are to be determined. District 9 Class 1A at Cornersville. The championship game is Eagleville, Fayetteville. That's at 6 o'clock. The consolation game is at 6 o'clock, Eagleville and Fayetteville. Championship is Moore County Huntland. That's at 7:30. And District 1A at Richland. Consolation at 6 o'clock between Culleoka and Collingwood. Championship game between top-ranked Wayne County, undefeated Wildcats. And they'll take on Richland at 7:30.
In District 8 2A, these games are all at higher seeds. I assume they are quarterfinals. Lead Academy is at Stratford at 6. Also at 6, Kip Nashville is at Pearl-Cohn. Republic is at Whites Creek. Saturday at East Nashville are semifinal games at 3 and 6. In District 9 2A at Fairview, Cheatham County and Harpeth play at 4. Sycamore and the host Lady Yellow Jackets are at 7. Those are semifinals. Again, consolation is Saturday at 4. Championship is at Saturday at 7. In District 10 2A at Mount Pleasant, Loretto and Lewis County play in a 4:30 semifinal game, followed by Summertown and Giles County at 5:45. And at Lawrence County, the District 8 3A semifinals, Lincoln County's girls and Page at 3:30, followed by Tullahoma and Lawrence County at 6:30.
In 9 3A at Greenbrier, this will be tomorrow on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Great Creekwood takes on Portland, and at 2:30 is Greenbrier and Liberty Creek. In 10 2A action at Murfreesboro Central, the hosts will take on Valor Collegiate, time unknown. District 7 4A at Blackman, it's Blackman and Siegel at 6 tonight. Oakland and Rockville at 7:30. In 8 4A tonight, or this afternoon, is Stewart's Creek and Laverne at 4. Cane Ridge and Smyrna at 7. Saturday's consolation game will be at 2 o'clock, while the championship's at 5. And 9-4A at Cookeville. It'll be Saturday semifinals. Green Hill takes on Lebanon at 2. Cookeville and Wilson Central at 5. And in 10-4A at Beach tonight, it's Beach and Station Camp at 6. Hendersonville Gallatin at 7:30.
In District 11 4A at Hillsborough girls action, Brentwood plays Franklin at 4 o'clock, followed by the host Lady Burroughs and Overton at 5:30. Girls consolation game will be at 3 o'clock on Saturday. Championship will be at 6 o'clock Saturday. In 12 4A over at Nolansville, the host Lady Knights take on Ravenwood at 3 o'clock. And Columbia Central plays Independence at 6. Again, Saturday consolation play at 3 o'clock, championship at 6. In 14 4A at Dixon County, the host Lady Cougars in Kenwood will play in one semifinal. Henry County and Clarksville Northwest. Okay, Henry County and Clarksville Northwest will play at 6:30. Dixon County and Kenwood will play at 8. In the Division 2A Middle Region girls semifinals at Goodpasture, Nashville Christian plays Middle Tennessee Christian at 4. Webb will play Providence Christian at 7. Consolations and championships will be Saturday at 3 and 6. And in D2AA Middle Region semis at Father Ryan, Ensworth and the host Lady Irish play at 3:30. Harpeth Hall and Brentwood Academy play at 6:30. Saturday's consolation is at 2. Championship is at 5:30.
All right, now we go to boys' side. 8-1A at Joe Burns. Knowledge Academies tonight against Joe Burns at 7. East Robertson and Trousdale County at 8:30. Saturday's consolation and championships, times unknown to us. 9-1A at Cornersville. It is the consolation Moore County and Huntland at 6 o'clock, and Fayetteville Eagleville will play for the championship at 7:30. 10-1A at Richland. Saturday, consolation Wayne County Culleoka at 6, Richland Santa Fe in the championship at 7:30. In 8-2A, Lead Academy is at Stratford tonight at 7:30. Republic's at Pearl Cohn at 7:30. Kip Nashville is at Whites Creek at 7:30. And Saturday, all games at East Nashville, and the winner of one of these 3 games, I think it's Lead Academy and Stratford, will take on the host Eagles at 4:30, and the other semifinal at 7:30. In 9-2A at Fairview tonight, Cheatham County and White House Heritage at 5:30. Fairview and Harpeth in the nightcap after the girls' game at 8:30. And then Saturday's consolation will be at 5:30. Championship at 8:30.
Take a nap. 10-2A boys at Mount Pleasant tonight. Loretto Summertown at 7. Giles County, Lewis County at 8:30. 8-3A at Lawrence County tonight. Page Spring Hill is at 5. Lawrence County, Marshall County is at 8. In 9-3A at Greenbrier tomorrow, semifinal action. Creekwood and White House at 2:30. Greenbrier and a winner at 5:30. 10-3A at Murfreesboro Central tonight. It's MLK, Martin Luther King, and Glencliff. That's a 5:30 tip. At 8:30, it'll be Hillwood and the host Tigers. 7-4A at Blackman, semifinals tomorrow. 6 o'clock, Oakland and the host Blaze. 7:30, Siegel and Rockvale. And in 8-4A at Cane Ridge, 5:30 today, it's Antioch and Cane Ridge. 8:30, it's Laverne and Stewart's Creek. Consolation is tomorrow at 3:30. Championship is tomorrow at 6:30.
I asked our local reporter up in Greenbrier who won the Portland Montgomery Central game. He said, actually, I said, did they play? He said, I'm sure they played, but I can't find a score anywhere. So there's that.
Okay.
9-4A at Cookeville tomorrow. Cookeville and Lebanon at 3:30. Green Hill Wilson Central at 6:30. 10-4A at Beach, also on Saturday. Station Camp takes on Hendersonville at 6, and Beach and Gallatin at 7:30. 11-4A at Hillsborough tonight. Hillsborough takes on Brentwood at 7, and Centennial and Franklin will play at 8:30. Saturday's consolation game will be at 4:30, and the championship at 7:30. And 12-4A, Nolansville hosting this one. It's Independence and Summit at 4:30. Ravenwood, Nolansville at 7:30. Saturday consolation at 4:30. Championship at 7:30.
In 13-4A at Clarksville, boys semifinals, Rossview plays the Wildcats, the host Wildcats, at 6 o'clock. followed by Clarksville Northeast and West Creek at 7:15. They're not going to play in an hour and 15 minutes.
Nope. When I saw it, I was like, this is dumb, but I'm going to write it down because
that's what they said.
Not going to happen.
If it's a lie, they told it. In 14A at Dixon County, Kenwood and the Cougars, Henry County and Clarksville Northwest.
I have times on that. Hang on. I'm sorry.
I
just got them from Casey just a minute ago.
Come on,
Henry County at
man.
6:30. And that's
Henry County and Clarksville Northwest.
Yeah, that's tomorrow.
Oh, that's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. Yeah, everything got
Okay.
pushed back a day because
Okay.
and I didn't know that until
All right.
I was done. So Henry County at 6:30, Dixon County at 8.
Okay. Division 2A Middle Region Boys Semifinals at Goodpasture. Webb and Davidson Academy at 5:30. The host Cougars and Clarksville Academy at 8:30. Saturday, Consolation 4:30. Championship 7:30. D2 AA Middle Region Boys Semifinals at Father Ryan, Brentwood Academy and Lipscomb Academy at 5. Montgomery Bell Academy and Christ Presbyterian Academy at 8. Consolations Saturday at 3:30. Championship at 7.
All right, college basketball doubleheaders tomorrow. Trevecca's at Ursuline at 1.
Ursuline, I believe.
Nah. Ursula, the lady from Little Mermaid. That's all. So Trevecca and Ursuline at 1. Also at 1 is Cumberland at Freed Hardeman and UT Southern at Bethel at 1:30 on ESPN3. You can catch Southern Illinois Edwardsville at Tennessee State. And then in junior college action, Walter State's at Vol State. That's a 4:00 tip for the women. Men to follow. Motlow or MIT, Motlow in Tullahoma.
Yes.
Motlow State at Columbia State. That's a 4:00 tip as well. Women and then men. And women's basketball only action tomorrow. Belmont's at Southern Illinois at 6:00. Or that's tonight. I'm sorry. Belmont at Southern Illinois tonight on ESPN3 at 6:00. Tomorrow, Middle Tennessee State will be at Florida International. It's an 11 a.m. tip on ESPN3. A lot of ESPN3s in the women's game this weekend. It's very odd. Lipscomb is at Stetson at noon tomorrow on ESPN3, and also on ESPN3, Florida Gulf Coast hosting Austin Peay. We'll have Auburn at Tennessee at 11 on ESPN2. Belmont.
That's on Sunday, right?
These are Sunday. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sunday is Auburn at Tennessee, 11 a.m. ESPN2. Belmont at Missouri State, 2 p.m. ESPN Plus. And Vanderbilt will host Kentucky at 2:00 on SEC Network Plus.
Coming down the back stretch, men's basketball this weekend. Saturday, 12 noon tip-off. Rupp Arena, number 10, Tennessee. Is Kentucky ranked?
No.
Unranked Kentucky. That game can be seen on CBS. 3:00 on ESPN Plus. North Florida is at Austin Peay. At 5:00 on ESPN Plus. FIU comes to the Glass House taking on the Blue Raiders. 7:00 on ESPN Plus. Jacksonville is at Lipscomb. And at 7:30 on the SEC Network, Auburn is at Vanderbilt. NHL action this weekend. Okay, so Saturday at 1, the Florida Panthers are at the Predators. That's on Valley Sports South. On Sunday, the Preds are at Minnesota. That's also a 1:00 start on Valley Sports South. Also on Sunday, 6:30 on TNT, you can see the NBA All-Star Game if you like. And Sunday, 1:30 on Fox, the flag drops for the Daytona 500. And that, mercifully is your rundown.
We have a top story today. We'll get to it later.
Yeah.
We'll talk to Chris Lee on the other side of the break as we get ready for college baseball season. It's coming, whether you like it or not. Yeah, it's here.
Yeah.
So weather be darned, I guess. We'll talk about the SEC and the world of college baseball right after this with Southeastern 14's Chris Lee. Stick around. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com. Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow alongside Mo Patton here on this Friday edition of the show. Glad to have you with us, and we are looking forward to a great segment with Southeastern 14's Chris Lee, who joins us now with his very nice pennant backdrop, and looks like a really solid place to have a guest come from. Though.
You know what? It's kind of sad when our guests have backgrounds look better than ours. Okay. But Chris, good Friday afternoon to you, man. Appreciate you coming on with us.
Hey, thank you. I spent an embarrassing amount of time putting that together, but it did the trick, I guess.
Well, I mean, it was time well spent, because that's solid for sure, man. That's good stuff.
Thank you.
As Chris mentioned, it's baseball season. You wouldn't know it to go outside necessarily, but it's baseball season.
Yeah, well, I mean, it feels like it. It feels like every time baseball comes, the weather, especially if it's at Hawkins Field, the weather goes from warm to cold. So I guess somebody didn't tell the weather gods that Vandy was out of town this weekend. But yeah, I mean, it felt a lot more like baseball weather yesterday than it does today.
It really did, other than the rain. Yeah.
Right.
So Vandy and Texas Christian, I refuse to refer to them as TCU after that national championship game debacle. But is that out in Arizona, Chris?
That is in Arlington.
It's in Arlington. Okay. It's part of a big event,
a
right?
Classic. Vanderbilt, Missouri, and Arkansas from the SEC, and Texas, Oklahoma State, and TCU, and the Big 12 all plays the SEC.
So that's a fun way to get things started. Hopefully, the weather is better out there than it is here.
Yeah, Missouri, by the way, and Oklahoma State's finished up, so there's that.
Okay. Does Arlington have a roof, Chris? I guess they do, because they played there.
I've never
played the World Series there. They played the World Series there in 2020, right, when they went to the central sites. So I'm pretty sure it does. But so they're weatherproof, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Obviously around here that the excitement of SEC baseball is around Vanderbilt and, of course, that school to the east. A lot of relative unknowns, I guess, about this Vanderbilt team compared to previous years at this time.
Yeah, it's a weird team. I've never, and I don't mean weird as bad, I've just never covered one like this. I wrote a piece this morning in which I predicted the lineup. I said, here's two things that I think you'll see for sure, and a bunch of variables. Now, I think I nailed all the guys in the lineup, but the positions were not exactly where I thought they may or may not be. I think I nailed most of them, but point is, there were a lot of questions leading into the opener about how they would line up. Now, I don't think they're bad. In fact, I talked to someone over there off the record, or not off the record, but I wasn't quoting, but the quote I got was basically, I think our offense might be a little bit better than people think. We will wait and see about that. No, they're pitching. They've got depth that is incredible. Now, I don't know if it's their best pitching staff ever. I don't think it will be. They're not quite as good on the top end, although they've got, I say that, they've got an All-American starting today. And they got guys behind that who are very capable. They just haven't proven it over a full season. They probably go 12, 13, 14 arms deep. I mean, they have kind of gotten lost in the shuffle of Tennessee, LSU, and maybe some of the teams that went to Omaha. And I don't know how it's going to end up, but betting against Tim Corbin is usually sort of foolish. And I think you can make the case that they'll be a pretty good team. They're going to get tested just about at every turn. I did a count this morning. They play a ridiculous number of ranked teams. They play, I think, a good 65% of those away from Hawkins Field. So the strength of schedule will be there at the end. It's going to be an interesting year. And again, not a lot of boring games because they are taking on somebody most every weekend.
Well, particularly once you get into the SEC, I am looking for the baseball. There it is. Baseball America's preseason top 25, and
9, did we say?
It's 1, 2, 3. The top 3 teams in Baseball America's top 25 preseason are LSU, Tennessee, and Florida. Vanderbilt is 6.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is 10. Arkansas is 11. Auburn is 22. So however many that is. But I mean, when you're the number 6 team in the country and the number 4 team in your conference, is that deflating?
Well, and go a step further, the team that won the national title 2 years ago isn't ranked, but will be a factor, I think. Look, D1, which I think is my most trusted of the rankings, had Vanderbilt ranked 7th in the SEC, but 10th in the country. That's just the league that it's going to be this year.
Yeah, D1's got LSU, Tennessee 1, 2, Ole Miss 4, A&M 5, Florida 7, Arkansas 8, and Vanderbilt 10.
That's that's not something that we're not getting used to in the SEC at this point. I mean, it
doesn't catch you. It doesn't really catch you off guard to see that.
Mm-mm. No, I mean, this league was tough, and then Tennessee got good and made it tougher, and A&M joined, and went to the College World Series, and Texas is by many accounts the best program in the history of college baseball. Texas joins the league next year. And Oklahoma, who we had maybe some questions about, went to the national title series a year ago. So, yeah, it's crazy.
With that being said, what has been has it just been the success of programs in the SEC that's kind of raised the bar for other programs?
Maybe. It's interesting how that works, Chris, because sometimes being in a league like that and having that brand helps you. But then I'll point to Missouri, which had been to the NCAA tournament, I don't know, maybe 4 or 6 years or something like that before it joined the SEC, produced Max Scherzer. Missouri's had some good baseball, and Missouri joins the league, hasn't been to the NCAA tournament since. Now, I don't know that that's entirely fair. I thought there were some years Missouri had some good teams that maybe belonged, but didn't make the tournament. But, I mean, in some cases, I think Tennessee could argue that for sure. I think Vanderbilt's success maybe raised the bar and the stakes out east, and it helped that program. But there are examples where, and again, Missouri being the one, that it hasn't always helped.
Speaking with Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris, aside from Vanderbilt, who else are you? Well, obviously you're keeping your eye on all 14 programs, but I mean, who particularly are you watching out for in this opening weekend out of the Southeastern Conference?
Well, most of the teams are not taking on much. The ones to watch are Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Missouri. We talked about them playing in Arlington. Tennessee's going out west, going to face Gonzaga, Grand Canyon, and San Diego, which are pretty decent baseball schools. So that's one thing. And then everybody else, I don't know what Indiana's got. Indiana opens at Auburn. But other than that, it's kind of the, scheduled sweeps with a lot of low major teams. Next weekend's a little bit more interesting. Teams ramp it up a little bit, including Vanderbilt, which will host UCLA for 3 games next weekend. But yeah, I don't. Outside of those 4 teams, and I mean, again, Indiana's had some good teams some years. I'm not up to speed on where IU is this year, although I don't think I've seen them ranked anywhere, which probably tells you something. But it's not a very enticing slate for the most part outside of those 4 or 5 teams.
Chris is just chomping at the bit to get at you because I'm looking at the
Georgia's schedule.
I'm looking at the SECsports.com website, and their baseball scroll shows Jacksonville State 2, Georgia nothing, top of the second.
Calm down, Chris, with these scheduled sweeps now.
Well, Georgia can hit a bit. If you want a team off the radar to watch, I think that's one that, when you return most of your lineup and those guys have hit before, that's usually a good sign. But the league is so tough that
let's hope they don't.
Georgia's kind of getting lost in the shuffle. No, Georgia's got to find some pitching. Yeah, well, and to be fair, Jacksonville State's had some good teams too. But yeah, that's one to watch.
Stay cocky.
Oh, goodness. It's funny, Chris, when you look at the northern teams that are coming down south to play this weekend. Richmond's at Alabama, Western Michigan's at LSU, and God, I hope the Broncos know what they're getting into. But UMass Lowell is at South Carolina this weekend. Those guys haven't. You wouldn't think, stereotypically speaking, you wouldn't think they've been able to get outside and get the work in that these teams down here have, and these teams are pretty good. So your scheduled sweeps kind of lines up, seems like.
Yeah. I really, to be honest, I wish they'd moved the season back a couple of weeks. I asked Tim Corbin about it this week. He said the same thing. I think that you've got that issue. I think that frozen baseball isn't always the best baseball. I always tell people, if you're trying to get into college baseball, I don't know necessarily that you want to watch the first weekend. Now, the thing out in Arlington might be the exception to that, but it doesn't breed the best part of the game the first couple of weekends, and there's a lot of other moving parts there. Omaha would have to move back. You might have to get some cooperation at the pro level, but I think it'd be a better game if they could push everything back a couple weeks for the reasons you mentioned, and then maybe some others.
And I think it'd certainly be a more appealing game because, who wants to go watch that this time of year?
Yeah. TV is nice. You can watch it without freezing your butt off, but when you hear criticisms of fans not showing up for games early, I'm thinking, I don't know that I would either. I get to sit in the press box and don't have to deal with it. But yeah, it's not the best side of baseball this time of the year usually.
Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 joining us here. Chris, if there's an Ole Miss out there this year, who is it?
Oh man. Well, you might have to clarify for me a little bit because Ole Miss was a preseason top 5 team a year ago. It just didn't seem like it at year's end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think some team that maybe doesn't, that wins the national championship that we're not talking about all year long.
A non-Tennessee, is that what you're saying?
Basically, unfortunately, that was it. Gosh. I think Tennessee was really the big issue last year. Was they dominated they dominated the headlines because they were so good all year long. Plus, they were a little jerkish, so folks wanted to talk about them.
Well, it's hard when you got 9 or 10 teams that have been ranked to kind of throw out a sleeper and. Auburn, I don't know that Auburn got ranked anywhere. Butch Thompson always has his teams playing better than people expected. We talked to him on our stream a couple of weeks ago. They've got a lot of guys back that people know. Alabama's got a pitching staff that has got some talent to it, and they got a lot of guys back. I don't know that I'd take either of those teams to win the whole thing. I made the case for Georgia. If Georgia can find some pitching, if you want to pick a team that's kind of under the radar, comparatively speaking, and this is going to sound funny, but I could tell you reasons why. It'd probably be Vandy. just because Vanderbilt's not starting the year. And I mean, they're starting the year picked third. When's that ever happen in the East? But they're old. They've got some pieces. The lineup is the question mark, but they got some old guys and they got some freshmen becoming sophomores who will step up. And again, I think they think they're a little better than perception is. So, like, it's weird to call Vanderbilt off a radar team, but that's a team that I can give you a scenario in which it comes together and they're the last team standing. I'm not predicting it, but there's one that they've kind of gotten lost a little bit between LSU, Tennessee, and of course Florida being perceived to be a little better than they are.
Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 with us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint, by Southeastern 14. I'm trying to get a sponsor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
there you go. I'm for that.
Chris, there was a question that popped up. Oh, I know what it was. There's been so much talk about what happens with the football schedule once Texas, Oklahoma come in and what the format's going to be. Has there been much discussion of what happens with baseball from a scheduling standpoint once that expansion takes place?
Not that I've heard. I mean, right now it works out pretty well to where you don't have gaps and teams playing each other. Like I think the one that everybody knows is Georgia's still yet to make a road trip to College Station, which is crazy. In baseball, they've got it more mapped out and it's less messy. But I'm trying to think. I mean, you play 10 interconference series. I don't know that you'd really want to play anymore because teams. I joked about the scheduled sweeps. You got to finish above 500 to get in the NCAA tournament without winning an at-large bid, and so teams need some built-in cushion there. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if you give every team 2 or 3 permanent rivals and then just go round robin and every other year. That might not be the worst idea. Maybe the way football does it, although you'd be dealing with 10 weekends instead of 9. But I haven't honestly heard a lot of talk about it.
It's going to be that may be, again, basketball, baseball. It seems like it would be easier, but not necessarily. I mean, that's because there still are only so many weekends you can play.
Yeah.
So that is interesting. I wonder if, how that's going to work. I'm looking forward to seeing what the conference office comes up with, because it'll certainly be worth talking about.
Whenever they come up with it.
As everything they do is.
Right.
Chris.
Yeah, I don't know what that looks like either.
It's your guess would be as good as
probably
theirs.
Better. Well, yeah, his guess would be as good as theirs and certainly better than ours. So, yeah. Chris, man, we appreciate it. I know you want to get that game pulled up, so we're going to let you ease out. But thanks for sharing some knowledge with us, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. Oh, and we talked to Blake earlier this week. He says that you guys do have southeastern16.com nailed down, right?
Yeah,
making sure.
Strangely enough, we made that purchase long before Texas and Oklahoma was even rumored. So there was
just in case
little foresight, having been around and seen how the landscape works.
Do you have Southeastern 20 as well?
you might want to think about it.
Honestly, I think we do. I think we went all the way up to 20.
There you go. That's what you got to do. Well, you got to have some foresight in the world. But Chris, we appreciate it. Thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
That's smart.
Hey,
think
good
smart.
planning. Yeah. Something to be said for it.
No doubt. Mo, before we get out of here, since we're talking baseball, let's talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame. Announced today that Scott Rowland will don a St. Louis Cardinals cap on his Hall of Fame plaque, while Fred McGriff will be logoless.
Which are you more surprised by? Because I think I would have expected Rowland to go in as a Philly.
Me too.
But Scott Rowland is a native of Evansville.
That could be it.
And I don't know if that proximity plays a role or not. But I mean, I'm disappointed that McGriff is not wearing an A. But I saw a tweet where he played 5 at least 5 years with 3 different teams. And I don't know how many teams he played with total.
He
It was
played
a
with
bunch.
6 teams total.
6, okay.
He
But
played 5 with Tampa Bay,
5
5
with-
with Atlanta,
and
5 with Toronto,
Mhm.
3 with San Diego, 2 with the Cubs, and 1 with the Dodgers.
I don't even remember him with the Cubs, to be honest.
That was his age 37 season. In 2001, he played 49 games or appeared in 49 games.
Well, maybe that's why I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, are the Braves the only team with which he appeared in a World Series?
See, that's the thing. Yes, because he was with the Padres when Toronto won it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have thought the team I won the World Series with would be the team I'd go into the Hall with.
Yeah, I think Fred McGriff's most impactful portion of his career was in Atlanta. Now, I may be biased.
So here's the thing. He finished 6th in MVP voting twice, and 4th in 93 with the Padres. So, he finished 8th in 94 with the Braves.
That was after the trade. Well, clearly after the trade, but that was when he came in and set the press box on fire. And
he was a 3-time All-Star with Atlanta in his 5 years. Only 2 other All-Star games in his career. Once with San Diego when he finished 6th in MVP voting. He was not an All-Star when he finished 6th and won the Silver Slugger in '89. Go figure. Hit 36 home runs and drove in 92 runs. But
that was with Toronto.
Toronto in '89, but didn't go to the All-Star game.
Well, the AL was loaded with first basemen back then. I mean, you had Don Mattingly among others.
Yeah.
So,
and then he was an All-Star with Tampa Bay in 2000. But yeah, I mean, I do think that his most impactful years were with Atlanta. He obviously, was a major reason they won the World Series in '95. I would have thought, but like you said, yeah, I mean, over a 19-year career, 5 years in Atlanta doesn't really say put the A on his cap. So, but I will say this: all the guys on the committee that elected him, there were 3 Braves on that committee. So you could have just thrown him a thank you.
right. Yeah. I'm looking at the American League roster for the 1989 All-Star game, and the first basemen on there are Don Mattingly and Mark McGwire.
Oh, that's Bash Brothers. So yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah. I mean, that was just a tough position to crack. Also, I guess Julio was playing second. Julio Franco from the Rangers. I guess he was playing second at that point. Harold Baines, I guess, was DHing. So,
Hall of Famer.
But yeah, Mattingly and McGuire were your first baseman year. So
understandable.
Yeah, it makes a little bit more sense when you leave off a guy with 36 home runs.
He won Silver Slugger over both those guys.
Maybe he won it in the second half.
He must have. That could have been it. You need to look at the splits on that one.
Yeah, or maybe he got pissed off at the snub and just went off.
It went off.
Yeah,
could have been that too. All right, we're gonna take a break here, and we'll talk a little bit about some Super Bowl news. Kind of, it's not really news; it's more of a hypothetical. But I want to talk about it. So stick around. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Back after this.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance. This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. Chris Yow and Mo Patton here on this Friday edition, and some NFL chatter around the world going on right now as one national pundit, Mo, thinks that the Super Bowl could soon move to pay-per-view.
That's a concept that kind of leaves me a little speechless. I mean, are you killing the goose that laid the golden egg right there?
Yes. I mean, I think part of the reason that people view it is because it's kind of the only thing on.
Well, I just think you get so many. I mean, I know that there are a lot of people that aren't watching pro football anymore, but I think you get a lot of people that don't really follow football religiously that tune in on Super Bowl Sunday.
Sure. Whether it be for the halftime show or
for whatever
the
reason.
Commercials or whatever.
But I'm not sure that those people are going to subscribe or pay for the Super Bowl exclusively.
No. And here's the thing. And if we're paying, if it's pay-per-view, I don't want commercials. Like, I mean, it's kind of, or I want half the commercials, if that.
No, I don't want any.
I mean, it to me, it doesn't make any sense.
I don't necessarily understand the thought process. Well, I understand the thought process. I think that there are some unintended consequences that would come out of that were it to actually occur.
I also don't think you could go back. I mean, it would take time if you did. And there's, a 3 to 5 year window where, oh boy, we've killed this whole thing.
We found out.
Yeah. And you don't want to do that. So I'm interested in that because I thought, pay-per-view to me has kind of gone away in a sense. Like WWE pay-per-views are all available on Peacock. If you subscribe to Peacock, you can watch them. And, pay-per-view just isn't what it used to be. UFC is the only thing that really does pay-per-view. And, if you know what you're doing, you can get those for free.
YK, right?
That's right. If you know, you know. Trust me.
I
have a friend who knows. I just, partake.
You got a friend? Huh?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Just one. I don't know. I just feel like this is a move that if the NFL were to try it, it would quickly realize it was a bad move, and then they'd spend another 3 to 5 years trying to recover from it. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to do that if you're the NFL. You make too much money.
Well, you make too much money, and you make too many mistakes already.
Plenty of them.
Why go seeking out another one?
Speaking of mistakes, Oklahoma State University, where the turf was grown for this year's Super Bowl, has been under heavy criticism.
Oklahoma State has?
Well, the turf in general.
Well, yeah, the turf in general has certainly been under heavy criticism.
Oklahoma State, who put out a couple of tweets ahead of the game saying, it's our grass and we're proud of it.
Oops.
Well, they're blaming the NFL. And essentially what they've said is the NFL added grass on top of it.
Grass on grass on grass.
Yeah. They added a ryegrass on top of this new turf. And when it gets wet, it does get slick. So they are now blaming the NFL, saying that Philadelphia played on the same exact grass in the NFC Championship game that they provided the NFL with
and had no problems,
with no additional grass on top of it, and had no issues. Oklahoma State out here coming in hot.
Well, I mean, when you start throwing folks under buses then that don't feel like they belong there, they tend to fight back.
Yeah, and to be honest, I mean, I have to, if what they're saying is true, if the NFL or its grounds crew added grass, then it's on them. Especially if it was perfectly fine in Philadelphia the week before in an outdoor stadium in cold weather.
Tahoma 31 is widely used at high-profile sites across the country, including the Arkansas Razorback Stadium, which was recognized as the 2022 College Football Field of the Year by the Sports Field Management Association. I mean, take that for what it's worth.
I mean, to me, that's what I would. I mean, don't come at me unless you've got, unless you've got it all figured out. Because
if you come at the king, you best not
don't
miss. Huh?
Because I'll throw it back. And look, Oklahoma State, man, they've been under enough fire lately with the basketball program and all the things that have to go with that, and their football coach. And
yeah, we're not taking it over grass.
No,
this is where we draw the line.
We know our grass.
We know our grass.
So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. And
that is interesting.
And good for Oklahoma State. Don't be the scapegoat.
Not if it's not your fault.
I feel bad that they're throwing the 90-year-old groundskeeper that's worked on every Super Bowl.
George Toma.
Yeah, they're kind of getting close to hold up. Wait a minute, territory, but
yeah, but I mean, again, why would you take the blame for something that's not your fault?
Exactly.
So maybe George Toma needs to come out and say, "Hey, I was just doing what I was told."
Maybe George just needs to go to the house. He's 90, and it don't matter. Who gives a damn? He's done. He's like, look, I worked on 52 of these mugs. I ain't
screw you guys. I'm going home.
I'm going home.
Presence with authority, Justin.
Hello. I have the question of the day for y'all, if y'all are ready for it.
Well, whether or not.
I mean, we weren't ready for yesterday, so I mean,
this
come
is
on with it.
A pretty solid one. So I'm going to make it a banner so you guys can read along here. Would you rather lose your sight or all your memories?
Oh goodness. That's.
I could still. I guess I could still do this job if I had my memory.
It's true.
Yeah, you could talk. I mean, you couldn't reference anything because you couldn't see anything, but yeah.
I just have to have some guy in my ear talking to me.
I guess.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
That is a tough one, man. I mean, I guess I would rather lose my sight because, I mean, I don't know. I'm probably getting to that point where I'm going to lose my memories eventually anyway. I don't know. So I
mean, it would be cool to, to listen to sports on radio and really dive into that.
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to a lot of sports on radio anyway.
Sure.
And so, it wouldn't be so bad. And you could listen to audiobooks, different things like that, I guess. But
like a clean slate if you keep your sight and you wipe your memory, kind of like on Men in Black.
I was gonna say, there's a movie out there with like Dana Carvey in it where, he loses his memory. And do I get to like, can I do kind of like 50 First Dates and write some notes down at least?
If you meet someone special, I guess.
Well, just in general, like do it.
Yep. How the family did it.
I don't know, man. I just think I think I've had so much stuff happen,
right,
that I would hate to not be able to refer to it.
because you won't know your family, anybody you've seen in your life.
Yeah,
but you got your sight.
And that would be tough.
Okay, my answer is sight.
Yeah, I think so.
I'd rather be blind.
All right, Adam.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think so. The lesser of two evils, right there.
Well, that's the would you rather's in general, right there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I'm liking this. We've got a comment. We have a comment. Selective memory. No, I have that already.
Right. Yeah. You're talking to the guy who couldn't remember who Tennessee lost to last week. So yeah. Again, I'm already losing my memory. So shoot. I think it would be sight.
All right. Well,
that's good stuff, Justin. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll keep them coming.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we have retired Boston Globe sports editor Joseph Sullivan joining us, and we'll talk to him about last night's MTSU FAU game and much more. So stick around. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll be right back after this.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back into Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. He's Mo Patton. I'm Chris Yow. It's the 3 o'clock hour, and we are on the backside, headed to the weekend, getting ready to look ahead to, again, one of the biggest NCAA hoops games this weekend, the XFL kicking off, SEC Media Days coming up here in July in Nashville. We'll talk about that as well. Still to come in just a few minutes. But right now, we're going to welcome in Joe Sullivan, who is the retired sports editor from the Boston Globe and now residing in Nashville. So welcome to the show, Joe. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I hope we're not going to get too deep with my segment about sight or memory. Not take it that direction, are we?
We're not, because like I said in the last segment, Joe, I feel like that decision is being made for me right about now. So,
I can identify with that.
Yeah. So tell me, Joe, you cropped up on my Twitter feed some weeks ago, I guess. Former sports editor of the Boston Globe, have relocated to Nashville, as has everyone else.
Yeah.
But
it was a traffic jam coming into town. Yeah.
So you just decided to stay, huh? I got you. I understand. How long have you been here? What brings you to Nashville?
So about a year and a half, and when my wife and I retired, it's pretty simple. Our daughters live here. At the time, my younger daughter was working for Country Music Television, and my older daughter is a freelance writer and editor, and also a figure skating coach. And her husband is an ophthalmologist, and he got a job in Nashville with a group here, Cornea Associates. And suddenly, my kids were in Nashville, so my wife and I were in Nashville too, and it's been great. We love being here, and I came across your Twitter feed. Mike Organ's responsible for all of it, I think. Because I met Mike when I got here, and then that's how I found out about you guys. Is on Mike's feed. Mike showing up in my feed because he knows everyone, right?
Mike absolutely knows everyone without question. Now, Joe, I got to ask you, because I'm fortunate my parents are still around. But now, are you in Nashville because your kids are in Nashville, or are you in Nashville because your grandkids are in Nashville?
So I am just, at this point, I'm just ever hopeful about grandchildren. I don't have.
Okay. So it is actually the kids. Okay.
Yeah, my time will come, I hope, and I'm ready.
Well, don't let me put any pressure on anybody. But I just know how that grandparenting thing works.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
As Chris mentioned, apparently you have a passion for college basketball. First,
I have always had a passion for college basketball. And, I was the sports editor of the Globe for 14 years, and I worked at the Boston Globe for 24 years. And, I think we can all agree it's one of the great sports sections in the country. And I was honored to work with such great people there, many Hall of Fame writers, including Bob Ryan, Dan Shaughnessy, Jackie McMullen. All those people, to work alongside them was just an incredible career for me. I was lucky. And but I was in Boston, where no one cares about college basketball, and I've always cared about college basketball. In fact, my other favorite sport is horse racing. You will find me at Kentucky Downs in September, and I should have been sports editor at Lexington Herald Journal in Kentucky. It'd been a much better place for me. But we didn't put the Boston Globe sports section out for my interest. It was what the people of Boston were interested in, and that's pro sports up there. And I think, look, what I enjoy, one of the things I enjoy about Tennessee is the great passion for college sports here. I've been to Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Mississippi football games, and I go to basketball games a lot because I love it. And I try to write about it a little bit for the Tennessean. And it's just a great experience. Like, as you said, last night was went in there with what I expected to be a very interesting game between Middle Tennessee and Maurice. I see you're wearing the color, so you had a rooting interest there.
No
doubt. And Florida Atlantic, who's a little bit of a mystery to me. I mean, I saw a little bit of the last time these teams played on television. It's not the same thing. So it was. I mean, they came in nationally ranked, which you don't see that often for Conference USA, and you don't see that often in Murfreesboro, an opponent coming in like that. So it was a big game, and Middle Tennessee got a big victory.
Huge victory. Yeah. 470 over number 25 Florida Atlantic. Probably, I would dare say, knocking Florida Atlantic out of the top 25. And as Chris and I were talking off air earlier today, probably knocking them out of any possibility of an at-large coming out of Conference USA. But
I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
You're right about that. They're gone from the top 25 forever, and they're probably going to have to win the tournament later on, which is, look, that's a whole nother discussion. I'm a real advocate for mid-majors, and I think the committee I know they try their best, but it's just the game is rigged. For example, when they talk about with the net rating and the quad one wins and the quad one victories and most importantly, the quad one opportunities, it comes self-perpetuating. They're all in the Big 12, they're all in the Big 10, and they're playing each other. And they've increased their conference games from what used to be 14, 16 to now it's 20 or more that these teams are playing each other. It makes it very difficult for schools like Florida Atlantic to make the case based on what the criteria is. So I have often advocated for, like, I think Conference USA should have 2 bids. They have 2 teams that are good enough. I believe the Mid-American Conference with, Kent State and Toledo, worthy teams. I see these teams play on TV. I watch college basketball endlessly. My poor wife. And there's other leagues like that now, the Mountain West should get 4. And now the West Coast Conference is regarded in a much better light. They're going to get 2, I think. They're not going to get 3. But it is it's unfair in a lot of ways for schools of the level of Florida Atlantic and Middle Tennessee, in my opinion.
Well, as a guy from Birmingham who graduated from a mid-major and, and obviously a big fan of UAB, and their program has always been kind of basketball oriented. And obviously Middle Tennessee State, when in Conference USA, when it was Memphis and when they were getting 2 or 3 teams in every year, it was a little different, but nowadays it's just not the same. And it's unfortunate. And it's tough. And Joseph, you are speaking to that, and you're speaking our language, but it's tough when the 7th or 8th best team out of some of these other conferences gets in over the number 2 team from a mid-major, when that number 2 team doesn't, like you said, get the opportunity to play those type teams and get those type wins, because they won't play you. And if they do play you, it's going to be at their place. They're not going to play you neutral. They're certainly not going to come to you. So, what do you kind of said it. The game is kind of rigged.
So it's I got to be sort of full disclosure. I'm a graduate of a mid-major college too, so that makes 3 of us here. So I went to St. Joseph's in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah.
And a good friend of mine is Joe Lunardi, who does the bracketology for ESPN. You could argue if he invent bracketology, maybe not, but he certainly popularized it, and he's still the best as far as I'm concerned. I'm biased; he's my friend, but he's done the research, and I don't have the numbers in front of me because I wasn't anticipating it necessarily, our conversation going this way. But when mid-majors get the extra teams in, they perform better than the lower level Power 5 or Power 6, if you want to include the Big East, in the tournament. And I think it just makes it more interesting. I really don't want to see Syracuse in as an 11th seed. I'd rather see Jelly Walker and UAB in there. Be much more exciting to see that. And we better have, NCAA tournament's just a better thing if Jelly Walker's playing it. That's all I can say.
Well, and I guarantee you, UAB and Jelly Walker and Andy Kennedy and those folks are going to be more excited about being there than Jim Boeheim and the Orange as an 11. Here we go again. It's no more than they're supposed to do. It's something special for much as I hate to admit it, for Jelly Walker, or for our big guy in the middle, Dishman. Love to see them in it. That kind of thing. I just think, like you said, Joe, there's more excitement when a mid-major gets there. There's not a sense of entitlement that you get with some of these Power 5 schools.
I agree
Joe,
with you.
It's funny. I guess if Joe Lunardi is Joe's friend, then Joe, you must not be friends with Bill Walton after last night. You guys on the outs, apparently, after he called Lunardi a troll.
So Joe is such a great guy that he does not take that seriously. He chuckles at it just like we do. And it's my wife, who's much more sensitive than many of us, we were watching the game the other night when he called him that. And I think it was a UCLA game. And she said, "Did he just say that about Joe?" And I said, yeah, he's just okay. He doesn't really mean it. And it's just, it's part of its shtick. And And Joe has a thick skin. He can take it. He can take it. And Walton is.
I love that.
I just love Walton. You know, look at it's my. You know, we're the same age basically, Walton and I, and I just think he really is one of the greatest players of all time, without a doubt. You know, you guys know who Bob Ryan is, who worked at the Globe and has been on ESPN many times. And Bob is great for going to extremes and like coming up with circumstances that really would never happen. And he once said, like, if we were playing a game, an intergalactic game against aliens, and we had to win to save mankind, I'm putting Walton on the team. That's, you know, because he thinks Walton is like as great as anyone who ever played. And as a personality, there's no denying it. But he's fun. I mean, I guess he's an acquired taste for some. Do you guys like him when he's doing the games?
He certainly has an out of this world personality, so it would make sense that he would play in an intergalactic game. Joe Sullivan, retired sports editor of the Boston Globe, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. And you know, Joe, you mentioned Jackie McMullen, and I was fortunate enough to be in Winston-Salem last summer at the National Sports Media Association's annual gathering for her Hall of Fame induction. Didn't get a chance to meet her, but it was really cool to be there for that. But again, you've been making the rounds of Nashville and Middle Tennessee area college basketball this season. Who've you been impressed with?
So I think it's I'm going to be unimpressed. I think mostly because I'm semi disappointed in the performances of a lot of these teams that I thought might do better. You know, I think, and I tend to be an optimistic person, and maybe I misjudged it. But I do think they're all. Let me go through it. So Vanderbilt really has not moved forward as a team. You know, the injuries to Liam Robbins held them back. But they're doing better now. I mean, obviously they're on a little bit of a win streak. That was they've had a couple of good wins lately. They got Auburn tomorrow night. I'll be there. And let's see how they do the rest of the season. Maybe they can prove me wrong. But I do think it was a little bit of a step back after last year's NIT. You wanted to see them go forward. I think Lipscomb, I thought, had the talent perhaps to be an ASUN contender, and it just hasn't proven true. They can't win on the road. They don't defend well enough. Belmont. Now, I thought they were coming together at some point, and they're still in second place in the Missouri Valley. So they could be an NCAA team. They had a really good surge at one point, but they've lost some tough games. I mean, really heartbreakers. And I will say Tennessee State has been very disappointing. I thought they could win the Ohio Valley, just really too inconsistent. And I think Middle Tennessee, I had high hopes for them also, but their offensive problems are difficult to solve. I'm not sure how I don't think they can at this point. They have trouble scoring points, even though they're a very good defensive team. I can see you shaking your head.
I saw them against UTC back before Christmas, and yes, you're right. They have offensive issues, and they're offensively inconsistent. That's why it was shocking to see what they did last night, to be honest.
Yeah, they did. So
I was not expecting that.
So great game plan by Coach McDevitt that he explained it after the game, and then I got it. Like, I was unimpressed with Florida Atlantic, and then he explained how they really had certain goals to slow them down, make the game be a half-court game, stop their dribble handoffs where they get open shots, you know, come out and hedge quickly, don't let them get open jumpers. That's their strength. And so I think it was just a great game plan, and executed very well by the players too. I mean, that's what you need mostly. So it was probably, and I asked this question after the game to Nick, and he didn't really say it was, but it might have been the best game they played all year.
It's the best result they've had all year. I mean, so I was watching the end of Moorhead and Tennessee State last night, actually, and they ran something across the crawl. They ran the MTSU Florida Atlantic score and said MTSU's first win over a top 25 opponent since 2016, and it immediately hit me. It's not like they've had a whole lot of opportunities. So I mean, I don't know that that's as big a ding as maybe ESPN thought it would be, but that's a huge win for them.
And that was in the NCAA tournament, get that famous game against Michigan State, and why am I forgetting the name of the guard from Middle Tennessee that could make the outside shots like crazy? The guy was kind of shaped like a square. Giddy
Potts.
Giddy Potts. Yes, thank you.
Out of Athens, Alabama.
Great player.
I covered him in high school, Joe.
All right.
So yeah,
I bet he dominated there.
Oh my goodness, he was disgusting.
He was a man among boys, I would imagine, in high school.
And even at 5'11", 6 foot, whatever height he was, because you're right, he was built like a rectangle. I mean, just standing there, those shoulders were just straight, and he was a monster. But I'm not necessarily going to agree with you, Joe, with your assessment, because we all thought there were a lot of questions about Vanderbilt coming into this season. We didn't really know what they were going to look like without Scottie Pippen Jr. Nobody really understood what was going to happen. And to be frank, Jerry Stackhouse didn't know what they were going to look like because he just kept trying new things until he got it right. And it seems like they may have now. But, Lipscomb, again, I agree with you. I thought they had a chance to be competitive in the A-Sun, and they have not been. Belmont, to me, though, has been a little bit of a surprise because obviously coming from the OVC where they're so dominant, and you expect that from them in the OVC. But when they moved to Missouri Valley, we all kind of thought here, this is going to take a little time. It's going to take a little bit of an adjusting period. But Casey Alexander has, to me, he's overachieved this year. You may not agree. I don't know. But, Belmont certainly has an opportunity to get themselves or play themselves into the tournament with, a couple wins down the stretch.
Look, Chris, you're right. I shouldn't be too hard on Belmont. I think you make all good points there. But there was a point where I thought they were going to go into first place at the Valley, and then they've lost some games. So they've come up a little short recently. Casey's done a great job developing this group, which was pretty much a whole new group, except for Ben Shepherd. And I will say, if I'm talking to sports fans and basketball fans, if they haven't gone to see Ben Shepherd play, it'd be worth a trip. I mean, there's not much season left because he really is a terrific player for Belmont.
Yeah, this is a Belmont program that has certainly found its way into the mainstream, at least here in Nashville, which is, it's kind of hard to do. It's kind of tough to break in, especially when you're even if you are a small market, pro market team, it's still difficult to be important, but Belmont has found a way to do that with a great atmosphere when they do play at the Curb Event Center. And obviously being successful helps with that as well. Joe, I'm curious. I expect that you will find your way to the SEC men's basketball tournament here in a few weeks.
Oh my gosh, this is a great debate I've had in my mind, tossing and turning in bed about this, because I just recently. Oh my God, this is boring for your listeners, but
no, it's not.
I recently accepted assignment for a website, TMG Sports, which is published under SportsIllustrated.com, and it's a website run by old retired guys like me, and they invited me on board to do some material for them previewing the first the conference tournaments and then the NCAA tournament. So that particular week, I have material I need to prepare for them, and I figure I might be best done at home in front of a television rather in the mania that Bridgestone Arena will be. However, I that's the argument I have. Now, wait a second. You could do it in the press room. You could do it at courtside. You could do it. So I don't know. When I guess you can. This is the first time you guys meet me. You can tell I'm a talkative guy, and I tend to get when I'm on site. I end up talking to people. So I
understand that. And all of a sudden, the stuff that you were planning to do didn't get done because you spent 3 hours gabbing with folks. Yeah.
So I'll tell you a story about being sports editor of the Globe real quick. I hope I'm not taking up too much of your time.
No.
But, I've been to several Super Bowls coordinating the coverage of the Patriots. And then finally I got to a point one year I said, I'm not going to go. I'll send my assistant because the Super Bowl week proves to be like a sleepless, unhealthy week. It's really exhilarating. And it's the ultimate sporting event. But I always end up out to dinner and maybe, there's some drinks and then I'm on the way back to my hotel room and I'm walking by the hotel bar and somebody go, Hey Sully. And of course, having no willpower, I end up in the bar, it's just, it ended up being like an unhealthy lifestyle. So it's so I decided to send someone else to the Super Bowl one year. And my boss said, "You're not going," and I told him the truth. That's why.
Like I'm just trust me. It's better this way.
It's better this way. Absolutely.
You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
We yes, in more ways than one. Yeah.
So we've got 5 big college basketball games this weekend. I was going to wait to the next segment, but Baylor and Kansas top 10 matchup at 3:00 Central on ESPN tomorrow. Obviously Tennessee, Kentucky, which is huge because a Kentucky win would move them into a tie in the SEC with Tennessee, and that's at noon on ESPN. 19th ranked Iowa State and 12th ranked Kansas State. That's a 1:00 tip on ESPN, and Oklahoma State and TCU, or Texas Christian as Mo will call them, on ESPN Plus Saturday. And then North Carolina State, North Carolina. Big weekend for college basketball. Which of these are you most excited about?
Well, I like all of them because I do think they have an effect on what the NCAA bracket's going to look like on those games. And so not only am I mid-major guy, I'm also an underdog guy. So I guess I'm working backwards here because I heard it last. But like NC State, wouldn't it be great for NC State, which has had, has won a national championship at one time, but it certainly has had a lot of success as often as they used to. Wouldn't it be great if they beat North Carolina to really establish themselves as a team that's going to make the tournament? They have a great guard in Travarius Smith. He's good. He's going to play in the NBA, I believe. So that's a good one. And you have like Iowa State and TCU. Did I get that right?
Iowa State, Kansas State.
Iowa State, Kansas State. I'm sorry. I have look what I have here. I have my list of games that are. So I sort of schedule my day around them.
Do you follow Projection Sports on Twitter? Because if you don't, you should.
I will as soon as we get off there.
They have every televised game in their time slots and how they overlap. It's the perfect way to plan your day.
It's color coded and everything.
Everything.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. I'll jump right on that. Project Sports.
It's Projection Sports, but it's PROJ Sports, I believe, is their Twitter handle or where they're at. So yeah,
you should definitely follow them.
I will.
And if you're watching, you should follow.
Yeah. All right. So Iowa State, Kansas State, right? Now make sure I get that right.
Sure.
So these are teams that are just sort of slipping a little bit recently. I loved Kansas State. Their guard, Noel, is just what a season he's had. He came out of nowhere. He was really just, to take the Bill Parcells term, Jag. He was just another guy. And then suddenly he was like one of the best players in the Big 12 this year. And they've lost a few. They really need to get it back. Iowa State, same thing. I mean, that's really, Iowa State's really like St. Bonaventure West. Have you noticed that? They have like 2 transfers from St. Bonaventure that I find amusing. So I think that's a very important game too. As I said, I'm going to be at Auburn, Vanderbilt at night. But before I go, I'll be watching as much as I can. And so what are the other ones we want to talk about here?
Well,
go with that list again.
Baylor, Kansas, that's a top 10 matchup. Obviously, it's at Kansas. That's a huge game, top 10. And, obviously, Tennessee's wanting Kansas to continue to win so that it helps their net and KenPom.
So Baylor, trajectory up as opposed to those other Big 12 teams.
Right.
They seem to be improving and getting really good now at the end of the season. And they have that very perimeter-oriented offense. Those 3 guards. I'm not sure about their big guys. They're not great. Kansas, on the other hand, as we know, has a great, well-balanced offense. I mean, I can't imagine Kansas is going to lose this game at home. Have you guys been to Fog Allen Fieldhouse ever?
I have. I actually covered MTSU out there. Unfortunately, it was over the holiday break, and so the kids weren't there. Yeah. So it wasn't quite the same. I'd love to get back out there when the kids are in school for a game that meant something. But it's quite the facility.
Oh my God! It is really one of the best places to see a basketball game. See, like where I went to college at St. Joe's, we revere the Palestra, which is University of Pennsylvania's arena. And when I was in school, St. Joe's played all their games there. It's not true anymore. And then I went to see Allen Fieldhouse, and I said, "Oh my God, it's the Palestra on steroids." It's very similar to the Palestra, but just bigger. It's a lot bigger. It seats like 5,000 more people, I think. So. Wow. Yeah, Fog Allen Fieldhouse is awesome, and I don't think Kansas is going to lose there, even though Baylor's playing well. I would really like the Jayhawks in that game.
And
What was the other
finally,
game we were talking about?
Tennessee, Kentucky.
Oh, well, that's a good one to say for last, right?
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
That was an accident that we did that. Oh, no, you guys planned it. I got it. So Tennessee, speaking of offensive problems, what is it about these Tennessee teams that can't play?
That's terrible.
They really can't play offense, but that defense carries you a long way. And Kentucky's at home. And I think Tennessee's going to win this game. I just think Kentucky is just discombobulated. They're never going to get it back. And they might, on talent alone, they might win some games. And it is, but not this one. Not this one. They could beat Mississippi State on talent, but they're not going to beat Tennessee on talent, I don't think. And this is, and then Kentucky's going to be a borderline choice here for the committee. I think, they could be in Dayton for the first four. With me, I will be at the first four, guys. So, I'm doing. I got to tell you this. So I feel like I'm just babbling, but I got to tell you, I'm so excited about it. I'm going. So my college roommate lives in Dayton. Dayton season ticket holder. We're going to the first four, and I'm staying, and then we're going to the first and second round in Columbus after that.
Oh, you can't beat that.
Nice.
Isn't that great?
Yeah,
that is the way to do
I might have to stow away with you, dude.
Yeah, especially if you can get Kentucky, North Carolina in the first four.
How about that? Wouldn't that be amazing? So I said to my buddy, I said, if Kentucky's there, we could sell our first four tickets for one night. Maybe that'll cover us for the rest of
the whole time. No question. It would cover you the rest of the way.
I got a story about Kentucky and selling tickets, and we'll have to hold that one for the next time you come on. But Joe Sullivan, retired Boston Globe sports editor, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Joe, thank you so much, man. We've really enjoyed it, and hope to get you back on again soon.
Gladly, anytime. Great talking to you guys. Lots of fun, and I look forward to coming on again. Take care.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, real quick, looking ahead, Saturday, 2:00, the XFL version number 3.
This is the XFL. Will somebody be wearing a "He Hate Me" jersey? That's what I want to know.
Vegas will be taking on Arlington at Arlington, but they're at Choctaw Stadium, not at the baseball stadium. So you can,
okay, cool.
But that's at 2:00 on ABC, and Orlando is at Houston on ESPN at 7:30. The Battlehawks are down in San Antonio, where it is rumored that the Brahmas will be hosting the XFL championship game, neutral site in San Antonio this year. So how about that?
Okay.
And Seattle will be at DC. That's a 7:00 kick on Sunday on ESPN. Do you have ahead in front of you the SEC? Because if not, we can certainly push that. Okay.
I do not have.
We've got 45 seconds. So the best thing we can do is tell you guys to come back with us on Monday. We'll talk about the SEC Media Days 2023 dates, and the league coaches are set for the event. Going to be here in Nashville. It's going to be a fantastic time. We will obviously react to all the things that happened over the weekend, college hoops. We might talk a little XFL. We'll talk a little about whatever else goes on.
Daytona, maybe?
Perhaps. So there's a lot going on this weekend. We're looking forward to it. High school sports as well. Get out to a high school game this weekend if you have not made plans to do that. But until then, 2:00 on Monday. Mo?
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend